Thank you. That concludes general questions. We turn now to First Minister's questions. Question 1 from Jackson Carlow.
Presiding Officer, all this week and again this morning, the First Minister has set out her one priority for government. No prize for guessing what it is. But let's see how she's getting on this week with the people's priorities. If you're a commuter, the train overseen by the SNP is in chaos. If you live on our islands, the ferry you need to get to the mainland is in dry dock. If you're the parent of a sick child, either the hospital isn't open, or if it is, you may end up with a deadly infection. Is that a record of which she's proud to end the year?
First Minister.
Well, firstly, the Scottish Government works and will continue to work hard on all of these priorities. When we encounter failures of private companies in commercial contracts, like on the ferries and on the railways, unlike the Conservatives who continue to defend that, we take decisive action. Something that it doesn't at all surprise me that the Conservatives don't like very much. And let me also take the opportunity at this time of year in particular to thank all of those working so hard across our health service, caring for sick children and caring for patients the length and breadth of the country. Let me thank everybody who worked in our public services for the sterling job that they do. And when it comes to the record of my government, indeed the relative performances of my party and Jackson Carlow's party, of course that was put before the Scottish people last week. The Scottish people recorded their verdict, and I think Jackson Carlow knows very well what that was.
Jackson Carlow.
They don't want your thanks, First Minister. They want the leadership that is so obviously lacking. And if your government is so decisive, answer me this: to date, during the course of 2019, what is the Scottish Government's detailed record on meeting its NHS waiting time targets?
First Minister.
Well, let me quote Audit Scotland that said on 7 of the 8 waiting times targets, more people were being seen within those targets than had been the case in the previous year, because we are investing in the health service to build the capacity that is needed to address rising demand. So in terms of what this government is doing, and it stands in stark contrast to the performance of Conservatives south of the border, indeed in contrast to the performance of Wales, Labour in Wales, we have record investment in our National Health Service. We have a record number of people working in our National Health Service, and because we didn't do what the Conservatives wanted us to do in the last budget, and indeed in the budget before that, and hand tax cuts to the richest people in our society, we've been able to avoid a further £500 million cut in our public services budget that would have been imposed on us on top of the other cuts the Tories have imposed on Scotland's budget.
Jackson Carlow.
Well, First Minister, here's the current score. The 12-week treatment time guarantee missed and never met. The 18-week referral to treatment missed. The 6-week wait for diagnostics missed. The 18-week wait for psychological treatment missed. The 18-week mental health target missed. The 62-day target for cancer treatment missed. The 4-week wait for musculoskeletal treatment missed. The chronic pain target missed. That is your record in 2019, First Minister. When you were showboating before the cameras again this morning, did you not think that the thousands of patients who have been let down by your government should have been due your apology?
First Minister.
Do you know, I'm sure I'm not the only one who is struck by the fact that Jackson Carlow's angry demeanour is always in inverse proportion to his levels of confidence. But let me remind Jackson Carlow on the issue of health service performance. This government has an £850 million waiting times improvement programme, which is delivering improvements and making progress. But for Jackson Carlow, the leader, is what he calls himself, of the Scottish Conservative Party, to stand up in this chamber the week after, under the Conservatives in England, the worst waiting times on record were recorded, is frankly a bit rich. It is this government in Scotland that is investing record sums in spite of Tory austerity. It is this government that is supporting a record number of workers across our National Health Service, and we will continue to do that. standing up against Tory austerity. That's why the record and the performance of this government was endorsed by the people of Scotland just a few days ago.
Jackson Carlaw.
First Minister, you can run from your record of missed targets, but you can't hide from it. As we enter 2020, we've seen PISA figures show science and maths performance at record lows. Violent crime going up for the 4th year in a row. NHS Greater Glasgow suing the construction firm which built our largest hospital, commissioned by Nicola Sturgeon. And embarrassing failures in public transport on sea and rail. Some might even say that it is unarguable that every public service in the care of this SNP government ends 2019 in a worse state than when the year began. Surely in 2020, fixing this should be the priority of any government worthy of the name.
First Minister.
These are my priorities day in and day out, and I don't run from the record of my government. I put that record before the Scottish people in an election last week. And let me remind Jackson Carlaw what happened. The SNP won that election comprehensively and the Tories lost it just as comprehensively. All these tired lines were rejected by the electorate just last week, which is why in 2020 I'll get on with the job of improving our public services, of making sure that Scotland's public services continue to perform better than they do under the Tories in England and under Labour and Wales. By contrast, I'm going to predict, Presiding Officer, that the Tories will probably spend at least part of 2020 electing a new leader.
Question number 2, Richard Leonard.